What's up, guys? So as you can tell, I am back. Basically what this video is going to be about is my travel experience going from Nashville, Tennessee to Incheon, South Korea during this pandemic. I'm not going to say the word because I know YouTube doesn't like it. Honestly, it wasn't as bad as I expected it to be. So basically, this is just going to give you the brief rundown of what I experienced landing in Incheon and what USFK personnel can expect when coming back to Korea. So let's get on with the video. So honestly, the whole flight itself was not that bad. The whole duration only took about 20 hours. I know that sounds absolutely crazy, but if you watch my last video of going to America, it was like 35 hours and I was awake for over 2 days. So this was definitely a lot better of an experience. My flight left Nashville on July the 8th at 6:30 in the morning. I had to literally wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning and get out of the house by 1:30, so I would still get to the airport about like 2-ish hours before my flight departed. It was a good thing that I did get there about 2 or 3 hours before, because the check-in stand where you check your bags wasn't even open when I got there, but I was first in line and the line completely wrapped around. It was crazy, but I was first in line and everything was totally fine. Boarded up the plane in Nashville and headed to Detroit, Michigan. When I landed in Detroit, I had a 3-hour layover. I tried to sleep as much as I possibly could because I was not running on very much sleep at all. All right, so I just went and got my temperature taken. I am in Detroit right now, and they put this little sticker on the back of my passport. It says July 8th. I don't know if it's gonna focus or not, but there's that. And they also gave me this little questionnaire that I need to fill out to make sure that I don't have and all of that. And it's really cool because it's all in Korean, so, but there's English on the back. So yeah, I only have like an hour left until my flight takes off and I'll be back in Korea. That wasn't bad. I got myself some McDonald's and I just hung out for a little bit. But that was when it really started setting in that I was about to go back to Korea, because everyone that was sitting in the terminal waiting to board the plane, they were all Korean. And whenever they were announcing people's name over the intercom to go up to the stand and you know, figure out what they needed to get figured out, it was all of these Korean names, and it was just like, oh my gosh, I am going back. But then I boarded the plane and had a straight shot, which was like 9 or 10 hours, possibly 11, I don't remember, straight from Detroit all the way up in Canada, all the way over Alaska, and then over like China and to Korea. So that was fun. I didn't really video that much whenever I was on the plane because everyone was sleeping and it was daytime outside the whole way. Whenever I would just like crack the window a little bit, so much light came in and everyone was just kind of like, but I did get some good pictures. I really wanted to get some pictures of whenever we were over the ocean, but it was really overcast and there were a lot of clouds and we were just in clouds most of the time. So the real part is when I landed in Incheon. It was around 6 o'clock on July the 9th. On the plane, they had you fill out a card just kind of explaining, you know, if you had any symptoms of, you know what I'm talking about. So then we landed. They did a really good job at telling you where to go by arrows and signs that were in English. And they handed you all the pieces of paper that you needed. You know, honestly, the only thing that you really needed to have in your hand was your passport and your military ID. Honestly, it only took about 30 minutes to go through the lines. At the very last checkpoint that you go through, they hand you a lanyard with a yellow card on it. I'm not really sure what that stands for, but then after that you go and you get your checked bags, and then after that you go all the way down at the very end and you basically follow all of the Americans. It was really easy to spot them out because they had all of their big old green, you know, army duffel bags. That part was probably the worst part because I stood in a line for 2 hours just so that they could get the information that, you know, I am who I say I am, and, you know, I'm going to Camp Humphreys, and I am not in the military, my husband's in the military, I am civilian, like, and then we had to sit in this really small area that was only designated for USFK personnel. And if you had to go to the bathroom, you had to be escorted to the bathroom. They wouldn't go in with you, they would just kind of like stand outside. You couldn't get any food. They did supply water, they did supply gloves, and they did supply face masks. So obviously during this whole entire time, like even in the airport and on the airplanes, I was wearing a mask the entire time. It was only then, whenever I stood in that long line, was whenever I had to wear gloves as well. After you get to the very beginning of the 3-hour line that I was talking about, they will kind of like group you up and then call your name whenever a bus comes, and they will take you to the duty station. And we had the long hour drive from Seoul to Pyeongtaek, and we went straight to the hospital on base. At this point, it was like 10 o'clock at night. It was so late. I landed at 6 and I didn't get back to Camp Humphreys at 10 o'clock. But then they, you know, have you fill out more paperwork and you fill out all the information. They kind of group you up by like if you are going to the quarantine barracks and if you're going, you know, off base or on base to your house to quarantine. In my case, I quarantined off base at my house here in Pyeongtaek. My husband, he already knew I was coming. He already talked to his platoon sergeant and everything. You know, he took 2 weeks of leave. He had already gone grocery shopping and everything so that we would have the food for the 2 weeks that we were quarantined, which was really nice. So that's whenever they group you, is whenever you get to the hospital on base. You know, you get tested, you get the swab down the nose. The nice thing, the one thing that I really do appreciate is they don't use the long, thick Q-tip looking one. They use the little swab, the plastic swab looking one. I can't even imagine getting tested with the big one because the small one already was enough. They did the double swab with me, so they touched my brain in this nostril and they touched my brain in this nostril. Once I got tested and everything, I texted my husband and he was like, I'm parked out here at the hospital, and they're like, go straight home and start your quarantine. They called us every day and made sure we were doing all right. If you were going to be quarantined in the quarantine barracks on Facebook, they do have pages that specifically cater to you needing groceries and all sorts of stuff. There is a support group on Facebook to definitely help you out. I'm not extremely knowledgeable on it since I did quarantine off base on my own, so I'm sure you can definitely check that out and get the help that you need. Also, the PX does a delivering service for groceries, so that is also a big plus. And then they had a retest for me on the 20th of July, which was like a week in. So at that point, my husband and I were going to go and get retested. They called us and scheduled a time for a shuttle to come get us. They came, they picked us up and took us and everything. Those came out negative again. We were supposed to be getting out on Thursday night, and they emailed us Thursday, like in the afternoon, and said, midnight tonight, you're free to go. And so then Friday, we were free to go and everything was good. It honestly was not that bad. The jet lag wasn't that bad either. It honestly just had me waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning every day. So hopefully this helped you out in any sort of way and might have relieved any stress that you had. It wasn't that bad. But again, I did travel by myself, so I cannot imagine what it is to be traveling with pets or children or multiple people. So you can do this, you got this, it's really not that bad, and welcome to Korea. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next week. Bye!